Hello and welcome to the Adapt and Survive video series, where we ask members of the travel retail community how they are dealing with the impacts of the global coronavirus pandemic. I'm here with Philip Handley, who is the Executive Creative Director for CircleSquare. He's also the founding partner and agent, an integrated creative agency with work inside travel retail, majority of their business inside travel retail, but they also have some business outside of the channel. My first question for you, Philip, is first and foremost, how are you doing and how is your team doing and dealing with the, I guess, personal aspects to this crisis as well as the business implications?
Yeah, hi Charlotte. We're good, thank you. We are adapting to this interesting kind of world. My team, we are keeping very connected, which is a brilliant thing. We've had a lovely response from our team. We've got about 130 people around the world, so trying to keep everyone connected when they're working from home is pretty tricky. I'm located in the UK, but every morning I'm in contact with my colleagues, whether it be in Singapore or Hong Kong or wherever. But actually what's great is that the team in London, for example, have taken it upon themselves to create tea time breaks. So every day there's a certain time we all meet up and have a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, and have a little chit chat, just like you would do if you were in the office and you were to pop to make a cup of coffee and chat there, the kind of water cooler moments. But also what we've noticed is we've got a huge amount of skill as a creative agency. We've got a lot of creative people who are kind of sitting at home feeling a bit frustrated and wanting to connect. So what's happened is they've actually set up a series of clubs. So anybody can join these clubs and somebody runs it, everybody comes on, we have a Zoom or a Skype or a Teams meeting. One person kind of runs it and everybody else chips in. Interestingly, the #1 club, the one which is the most subscribed, is a craft club. And they're doing things like macrame, and they're going to be doing all forms of sort of creative of work, which is brilliant. We've got a book club, a little bit more highbrow. I'm probably not going to join that one. I'm running a cocktail club, which we've referred to as the Lockdown Libations League. We had a meeting on Wednesday this week, and I asked my members of staff to come along with a cocktail that kind of epitomised them and their character. To give you an idea of how broad it was, we had your classic kind of old fashions, but we also had margaritas. We had somebody turn up with a pina colada. So I mean, there's some real kind of positivity and a good vibe amongst everybody. And I think that's great to keep everybody connected, because it's the one thing that we're all missing right now. And to keep a little bit of reality in everybody's lives is a really positive thing. And when we get everything back on track, I think we won't have missed a beat because of that. So it's a really, really positive thing in a difficult time.
Yes, people are searching for normalcy. I mean, that's a word that I feel has been thrown up by a lot of the interviewees in this series, actually, and people are really striving for it. Not something that you would think people would normally seek normalcy. People are looking for extraordinary experiences, and that's what obviously your business is all about. But actually, normalcy is what people are after right now. In terms of your travel retail business, there is no normalcy to it right now, obviously. What are you able to control, and what are your top priorities right now?
Yeah, it's a good point. There's not a huge amount we can control. Obviously, I mean, the one thing we all know is if you look up in the sky, there are no planes flying, or very, very few planes flying. So that means passengers aren't traveling, and passengers not going through an airport has a huge impact on my client's business, and as a result on what we do. And it's been a shock to the system for a lot of people, us included. Obviously retailers and brands and airlines are feeling it hard, but us as a kind of that support service industry that sits on the periphery of that, it's affecting us too, unsurprisingly. We've had some really interesting conversations with some of our clients though. I think we all know that things will change. We will get back to something. I don't know whether, I mean, I don't think it's going to be what it was before. And I think that's no bad thing, because this kind of new dawn will be a time for change. And it is time for us to do some things differently. But some of our clients are really embracing that. And it's interesting because initially you get a kind of a shock. And then I think there's this, I was expecting people to kind of go into a phase of like, right, let's get planning. But because we don't have an end date, because there's no sort of a point at which we know everything's going to sort of start going back to normal, it's been quite difficult to plan. But the conversations we've had with some of our clients have been really positive. There's a real sense that if we can get ourselves, our bags packed full of great ideas, if you like, for the moment the gate opens, we can really hit this running. Because I personally believe there's going to be, quite frankly, a race that's going to start. And I want all my clients to be, fit, healthy, stretched, limbered up on the start line, ready to go, because it's going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of people desperately trying to get those sales out of those travelers when they start traveling again.
Yes, especially in the beginning, when obviously there won't be that many passengers to begin with. The penetration levels are going to need to be high. And what do we know about penetration levels? In order to raise them, we need to create experiences, memorable experiences in store, which again is what your agency knows all too well. You mentioned there your clients, you're in regular contact with them, and could you perhaps share with us some of their concerns? Because I know from the conversations I've had with suppliers, they are starting to rethink how they might be doing samplings or tastings. I'm sure you've perhaps had that feedback before. Have you been able to give them any ideas as to alternatives, or are you allaying their fears and saying, well, we will be able to do those things, but perhaps not immediately?
Yeah, okay, that's a really good question. It's kind of got, for me, it's kind of got two parts to it. I think the first thing that has the conversation that's come up is we've kind of gone back and had a look at some of the numbers. You were talking about the number, for example, the numbers of conversion rates, people coming into stores, making purchases. We've got something along the lines of 59%, 60% of people who aren't even visiting stores anyway. If our passenger numbers halve, for example, it's 59%. You know what I mean? We've got to do something to make sure that people that do actually come into store have a brilliant time and are more keen to make purchases. We had another stat, something like 50% of people who don't go into store have said that they would do if there was much more kind of experiential going on. And you talked about irresistible experiences. That's kind of one of our phrases that we use. We are trying to deliver these irresistible experiences, memorable experiences that connect you to a brand. I mean, we go back in the day, I don't know, 10 years ago or something. We were quite pioneering in that regard. We were the guys that took on Hendrick's gin and did kind of bathtubs in airports when people had never seen it before, and got crazy numbers. We got 4,000% sales increases and things like that almost overnight because we were doing something that nobody else was doing. Now, a lot of people are doing that. We are, I believe we're already 18 months to 2 years into a new kind of pioneering program where we're looking at trying to sort of look at that extended journey, the extended traveler's journey, and how we get them as being a sort of part of that shopping experience. Whereas previously, I think what we've done is we've taken a single point on there and tried to give an amazing experience at one point. Now we're trying to kind of extend that. And we're working with brands and retailers and connecting the two. That seems to be the way that's working for us. To give you an example, we launched a project with Luxottica, as you know, the sunglasses kings, brands like Ray-Ban, a brilliant brand everyone loves. and working with Heinemann as well on that, we were looking at a way to connect people via technology, but by the technology that they carry in their hands, not by kind of, you know, incorporating a screen onto something that doesn't necessarily, yes, it's a piece of technology, but it's not integrating it. It's not enhancing your experience, which is what we're trying to do. But by using a communication that communicates to you before you travel, when you arrive at an airport, using like geo-positioning to know where you are. So we know which terminal you're at. We know that that means you're going to be heading to which one of our stores. So we can actually guide you to the store. We can tell you what's on today. We can demonstrate what cool experiences are happening, what amazing offers we have. We can, you know, lure you in theory, with price promotions or value added. We can bolt on kind of fun experiences whereby, for example, try on 4 pairs of sunglasses and we'll take photographs of you in almost like a passport style photograph, which you can then send off by social to your friends, who can have a look at you and go, style 2 is brilliant. And maybe we can do another beautiful add-on to that, which is, you know, sort of a kind of value exchange, whereby either you can get those sunglasses for a slight discount because all your friends were connected, or maybe you can pass that on to your friends. Maybe you can encourage your friends to then go and make a purchase. So there's lots of great ways we can do that. And it just means that from the moment you're thinking about traveling to the moment you're finished traveling and you're sitting at home on the sofa with a cup of tea, glass of wine, whatever suits your need, and you're thinking about what a great time you had. Part of that was that brilliant time you spent in an airport environment and the shopping experience you had. It's kind of like a way cooler way of you know, visiting an old-fashioned kind of souvenir shop and remembering your trip. This is a kind of a much more realistic way of doing it, and I think it's the way things are going to move in the future.
Yes, so very, very interesting comments that you make there. I mean, with fashion and accessories, potentially people will be more inclined to dive into those sort of experiences, but because they're not going to be touching their face and, you know, with samplings and things like that, perhaps, you know, they will be more of a concern for passengers rather than fashion accessories. I don't know if that's going to be the case. We can only presume it at this point. I did have a final question for you. I'm really glad to hear actually that you're very positive at the moment and you have lots of interesting creative ideas for your clients, and it sounds like you're having some positive discussions. However, obviously, we know, you know, the industry at the moment is really hurting, and a lot of people out there watching our videos are disheartened. They're feeling hopeless and very anxious. Do you have some more positive messages to share and or advice at this point?
Yeah, I do actually. I think you know, to a certain extent, I think a lot of people are going through almost a kind of a grieving stage. I imagine. I mean, I think we have to a certain extent. You know, there's a shock of what's been happening, and then there's this sort of sense of just sort of loss, really. But you know, moments of adversity bring opportunity, and I've touched on some of those already. And I do believe if we can start planning now and get our heads in the game now, we are looking at approximately a 6-month sort of rolling cycle. That's how we work. So when our clients come to us, frequently they ask us to do the work in 3 or 4 months. But when they ask us to do it in 6 months, it actually is a massive advantage to us and them. We can put more resource in place. We can spend more time doing the strategic planning, which will certainly help my head of strategy. She'll be delighted with that. But we can also do something else. It gives us time to prototype. We can get down the workshop and prototype and test. And right now is a brilliant time to test, because it's not like we're going to be, by testing something, it isn't like we're going to be jeopardizing our revenue, is it? If we make changes to store, there aren't the sales there right now. So now is probably the best time to do it. If our sales were raging, nobody would want to change anything. But right now we can. There's an opportunity to do that. My team in Hong Kong, they're ahead of us, basically. I think everybody knows that. But they're talking about the fact that all of the factories that we use when we go out and make stuff for our clients, those factories are up and running. They're sort of 90% capacity. So right now, if we can get people planning over a 6-month period, which means that you get better resource and it's more cost effective because we can manage that time better rather than rushing it through and having to, you know, and as a result, you've got additional costs associated with speeding it through. Grouping our production, for example. So if we're producing for 5 or 6 clients simultaneously, our economies of scale go up, our costs come down. We've got time now to start shipping things rather than maybe air freight, which dramatically reduces the cost. So if there's a way from a business perspective for us to plan that 6 months rather than that tighter sort of 3-4 months, we can actually get where we want to get to with better ideas that are more cost effective than they ever have been before. And that, I think, is going to be crucial. And from a business perspective, just tweaking our thinking. I think the sort of the holy trinity for us, I think, is going to be increasing footfall, increasing dwell time, and then doing something that changes the conversation away from price and onto experience. If we can do that, we're going somewhere. And to give you an idea of why I think that might work is 2 words: revenge consumption. I don't know whether this is actually going to happen, but when was it? A week, 10 days ago, the Hermes store opened in China, and we had $2.1 million of sales. The IKEA in China opened, and it had the highest ever footfall. We are going to see people doing things. People do want to go out. People want to travel. They want to spend. They want to treat themselves. There are many, many reasons to be optimistic. It will be different. It will be different. It will have changed. But people are going to want to do that. We're all desperate to reconnect. And I think reconnecting as a theme is a lovely idea, bringing friends and family back together. It's an incredible, powerful narrative. And I think if we can jump on the back of that, then there is a way for us to see a more positive end to this. Like I said, it will be different, but change isn't always bad. But there you go. That's my view. There's always an opportunity to be positive. And as a creative person from a creative agency, we're always looking for signs to be more creative and be more positive. So yeah, there you go. Let's hope we get back to the gates being open and the passengers traveling. It's going to be fun. It's going to be different, but it's going to be fun.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your perspective. It really is very interesting. And I like the way that you talk about restrictions or confinements actually leading to more creative outcomes at the end of the day. And again, lessons you've learned, I'm sure, in your many years of experience in this field. So thank you. I really appreciate you talking to us today. And we wish you all the good luck in the world for the months going forward. And I'm sure we'll hear from you soon or on the next project. It'd be great to hear back from you.
That would be great. Thank you, Charlotte. Really appreciate it. And good luck to everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you. Stay safe. Yeah.